Good morning, gamers. Hello. So you want to increase your uptime or optimize the fight better, but your static's been doing things like True North during Furious 14, or bringing Ifrit to the safe spot during soccer phase, or splitting the group in half during ad phase in E7, or Ilya Light Rampant. I know there's a lot of different things floating around in Party Finder, a lot of unoptimal things. So I wanted to make a video that would help you know what to expect when you join a real parse party or you make a parse party of your own. So we'll start with E5S. Let's go. Drag the boss north during the 4 spears. The tank can watch for a short spear in the northwest or northeast corner. If they're fast enough, they can pull the boss as close as possible to either spear to help with their own uptime as well as melee uptime. Grab the same orb every time for consistency, and make sure to leave orbs close to the boss for your melee and tanks. Put the storm clouds here so that tanks and melee can keep full uptime on the boss while cleansing. Position the boss here for the knockback so that tanks and melee are in range of the boss to get a global cooldown running as soon as they can use abilities again. This is especially helpful for long knockbacks, and the boss is still targetable in this position. Use boss relative positioning for Furious 14. Don't make your melee go to the north side of the platform when Ramuh goes south. Make sure the tank at the 3rd spear has aggro on Ramuh, so that Ramuh will spawn on the tank after the charge, giving your melee maximum uptime. Semi-amateur, not really pro tip or uptime related at all. Hold raid buffs like Tech Step, Divination, Chain Stratagem, and Trick Attack for after the first 14. For Chain Lightning, use the Circle Strat. Make your melee, tanks, and range move accordingly for your casters and healers. That way, the lightning still goes around clockwise. For bird kiting, tanks can kite the ad around Ramuh in a circle with only 2 orb stacks if the party pays attention to their stat counts. This helps tanks stay in melee range without having to go out of range to grab an orb. The tank with the ad should continue to rotate around the boss in a consistent direction, so if you need to dodge each other, it makes it easy to rotate opposite direction. And finally, for the last 14, leave orbs around Ramuh so that your melee and tanks can grab 2 orbs for the knockback. This allows them to stay on the boss after the knockback to avoid having to run out of range to grab a second orb. E6S. Let's go. Spread the northwest and northeast tethers that go out during the first Storm of Fury closer to the east and west cardinal of the boss's hitbox. This allows the tanks to pop mitigation and eat the Storm of Fury circle while dodging that extra damage they would take from the tether cones. Pull the boss north after the first set of air bumps explode. You can basically just position the boss where it spawned. This way your group can stay in melee range of the boss during the knockback. This one can even allow casters and healers to get that extra 20 DPS from their melee attacks. If you really love your melee and you have a paladin, you can cover one of your melee to let them eat the cone AoE and the Storm of Fury while avoiding the pull-in from the vacuum slice. The paladin can also throw an intervention on your other melee so they can do something like this. If you don't have a paladin for intervention but you have a dark knight, the blackest knight will work here as well. Just make sure that the person receiving the intervention or the blackest knight is topped off before they eat the explosion from the orb. Keep the Ifrit tank busters like Hands of Flame, Instant Incineration, and Meteor Strike close and tight to where Ifrit spawns. This not only helps keep melee uptime on the boss, but it helps pre-position the boss for the first Hands of Hell. Take both tethers during Ifrit phase south. Try to have your ranged casters and healers pre-position south so that they can instantly grab a tether and slide cast into position. Keep in mind, you don't have to go super far out, and you can kind of just wrap around Ifrit as long as you still bait the explosion circle far enough to not kill your tanks in melee. Soccer cheese. Bring the boss north no matter what the actual pattern of the orbs are. You want to pull Ifrit to about this position here, and then have your group stand at max melee behind the boss. After the pulls drop, you can move north and eat the orb, or if you get lucky, you'll have a safe spot there. When when pasta spawns, keep him right where he is so that he doesn't spin around, and you don't have to sacrifice melee positionals to reposition the boss. For the second set of tethers, you can also try to greed this last global, but be careful because it's pretty dangerous if you don't know the timing. For the tank buster after the soccer phase, have your tank run through the boss or to the side so that the boss stays in melee range. After the jump frickin' flag, tanks can use LB3 after the first tornado cleave to help them get back to the boss faster. This usually allows them to cut about 12 seconds of downtime down to about 4 seconds of downtime. E7S, let's go. So we finally got to the target dummy. So we finally got to the birds. Use the double cross tether strat. This strategy is really nice for parse groups, and it can help your healers keep uptime since they can stay in the middle and they don't have to slide cast back to the middle to get mitigation and get topped off before the next raid wipe. Another common one for Betwixt Worlds is cross T, which I like as well.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes.
But it's not as friendly to your healers. Put both tanks on the left and the rest of the party on the right side of the platform like this. This puts everyone on the same side to help your healers top the group faster and easier, and you resolve the mechanic the same way you normally would. 7-1 adds. I'm sure you've heard this one floating around in Party Finder, but you may not know how to do it. So let's dive in. For simplicity's sake, I'll call the east add during add phase alpha, and the west add beta. Have your entire party, except for the tanks, they do their normal thing, DPS 1 add. We usually just start with the east add or alpha. Once alpha begins casting Advent of Light, or the second set of line baits resolve, have everyone except for the tank physically move to the other idle add, or beta, and prepare to bait the third line AoE that's going to come from the Blasphemy add behind beta so that the group can rotate the same direction that the idle add has been moving. Make sure the ranged and healers still attack alpha until the soak AoE resolves, then have everyone, except for the tank on alpha, attack the new idle triad. Keep an eye on both adds and make sure alpha doesn't fall too far behind now that you're hitting on beta. I know that's a lot to absorb, so if you have questions, just let me know and I'd be glad to clarify that for you. Have a tank grab both color tethers and pop an invuln while standing right here. This allows a melee to swap colors if they're the same color as the other melee. You'll need a range to swap as well. And it allows your casters to turret in the middle and not have to go to the edges of the platform. It'll look something like this. Your melee will go to the northwest corner and your ranged will go to about right here. I'm pretty sure most people are running Brain Dead strat in Party Finder these days, so I won't go into detail about it, but I did want to show you guys this cool trick I saw my friend Lara do. Casters can drop what I'm going to call a Lara puddle here, so that they don't have to run all the way to the middle and they can kind of semi-turret. Just make sure your party watches out and they're aware of what you're going to do beforehand. Stay stacked northeast after the color portals to get topped and let the casters turret. The tanks can take the buster to the middle of the platform. And finally, after the last orb is soaked in tornado phase, group up south or north to get topped off and get raid buffs. We're almost done, buddy, I promise. E8S, let's go. Walk around the platform like this and pull the boss from here to avoid clipping melee globals. Make sure to pull the boss back to the middle before driving or biting. Move and position the boss like this for driving. Or like this for biting. The tank and melee can run to these two spots and not get cleaved while running a shorter distance, allowing them to greed an extra GCD. Because that's how like circle radii work and stuff. I don't know. Let the healers take the southeast position for Diamond Frost, and have your DPS take the southwest and northeast position. This will help the healers get into their flare position easier if the boss is going to the north or west for knockback. Use Hooklight Rampant and make everyone happy. Hook LR has the same chain strategy as Sharingan or bow tie, which is to make sure your party forms a bow tie like this. Once the inner cardinal towers resolve, the chains rotate to their respective tower positions and stand in the center of the tower to make sure they don't get cleaved by the orbs. They then step forward and take their protein. For Hooklight Rampant's orb strategy, I think of it in 4 segments: protein, marker, hook, soak. Protein. Your protein position will be 1 cardinal clockwise of where your orb starts. So if you were tethered to the east orb, like I was in this clip for example, you would bait your protein to the south. Marker. Your marker position is 2 markers clockwise of your protein position. So for our east orb example, you would rotate to the northwest part of the platform, or marker 1 in this clip. Hook. Once you are at your marker position, watch your debuff timer. As soon as your debuff gets to 36 seconds, hook to the marker to your north or south. In our clip example, since I am at the 1 marker, I would hook to the 4 marker, which is to my south. And the person on the 4 marker would hook north to the 1 marker. Soak. Once you are on your new marker, edge slightly back towards the marker that you hooked from, so that your orb isn't popped on top of the people soaking the towers. I'll make sure to post a link of the orb and chain perspective of Hook Light Rampant in the description. Or use Sharingan if you're too lazy to learn Hook, but you don't hate your melee. Uptime Scythe. I'm sure a lot of you already know this one, but just in case, pull the boss to the north or northeast mirror if Shiva is casting Uptime Scythe for the second mirror. If the boss is facing north during the first cast of Hollowed Wings, you can move diagonally to a safe spot immediately so that your healers and casters can turret. If she's facing south, you can wait for the first mirror cast to go off before moving diagonally. Knockback Cheese. If you press your arm's length or short cast as soon as the boss turns, you can just stand in your ad phase groups around the north or south marker and have your tanks move to soak the big damage. Unless you just can't press the button for whatever reason.
Drop it.
Position the boss here during mirror with Holy so your tanks and melee can still hit the boss for real or fake. After Spiteful Dance and Embittered Dance, keep the boss where she is and resolve the mirror with Akmor mechanic as you normally would, using the outside of the platform as north and the middle of the platform as south. Once you resolve the Mornafa, you can slowly bring her back to the middle for Icelit. After Icelit, keep the boss in the middle of the platform. Have your range go to the north and do the mechanic normally, and have your melee and tanks do something like this. The important thing here is to make sure that you move after the first ice disappears, and as soon as you see the cast bar for the mirror complete, then use your gap closer. And that's pretty much most of the important ones. There are other strats like Uptime Icelet, Trapezoid Diamond Frost, skipping the 2 spears during Furious 14, etc. But I wanted to do strats you would commonly find in a parse party in Party Finder. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you want to talk, message me on Twitter or Discord, and have a great day.